Let's get to Blazer Media Day. That happened yesterday. Were you guys all jacked up on Mountain Dew to hear what everybody over at One Center Court had to say about the upcoming season?
No, not
I was
really.
busy yesterday. I'm getting a lot done. The weather's going to change here soon, so I got a lot of
Had a lot of production. I was dialed into that Braves Mets doubleheader.
Yep.
So
what are they going to say?
Exactly.
We'll
That's what is going to be said that's truly going to make me think differently about what this season is.
We know
about.
Chauncey won't be back next year. We know they're going to be terrible. We know they're worried about Scoot internally. We know that they're going to trade their vets. I will say before you play the Cronin audio, I find the narrative very interesting. I'm well aware who there was on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
They've got some young players. They also have more veterans than they seem like they admit publicly.
Yeah.
And so, they act like they're these baby Blazers at every position.
Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, Anthony Simons,
Matisse
Robert Williams,
Thybulle.
Matisse Thybulle.
I mean, they've got 5 to 6 guys with 3 to 4 plus years. That's not a team of infants. They've got some young guys, no doubt. I just Denny Avdia has been in the league for, I think this is his 4th or 5th season. They act like they're this team of all 19-year-olds.
Which Scoot is, and Shaden's young,
and I think
Klingen's young.
I think it's their way of kind of saying, because they can't say publicly, we're trading those veterans.
Yeah.
And so this is really who it's going to be.
I think you need to stop being so pessimistic, Dirt. Sprague's over here, and I'm all excited about the upcoming season. Let's get to the audio, okay?
You can't do that. It's not even a funny joke.
You guys are asking what can you possibly say? Well, here's what we said. Joe Cronin said they need clarity this year.
One thing we're really hoping to find this year, throughout this season and definitely by the end of it, is more clarity. And to your point, Aaron, last year, I don't know how much clarity we walked away with. We saw, flashes and capabilities, but we didn't see sustained production or sustained cohesion. And I think this year we need to build on that, and we need to have a better feel and understanding of what we are, what moves we need to make, what additions we need to have, what's going really well. We need just more focus on what our long-term outlook is going to look like.
I feel like that was very important because these are the kind of things, wins and losses are not going to, losses will matter this year because you should hopefully end up with a good draft pick in a loaded draft class. That's the whole point of tanking, is to get the best possible draft pick and to be as bad as you possibly can be. That is his metric on a successful year. So just write that down with Sharpie, file it away. Do we have clarity at the end of the year? And if we don't have clarity, it's a failure of a season.
Yeah.
That's their own barometer that they have set for us at the start of the year.
Yes.
We need clarity this year. We did not get any clarity last year because everybody got banged up. Scoot was terrible, and then he was fine at the end of the season. Shaden hardly played.
Yeah.
There was nothing was discovered. It was a wasted year of Blazer basketball. That's what they're looking for. Clarity. Let me get to 2 more quick ones, and I'll get your thoughts on this. The Chauncey Billups thing is stupid. What are we doing here? Here's his answer.
Chauncey and I have a great relationship where, we talk a lot. We spend a lot of time together. He values my input, but I also value his expertise. And I don't meddle in, the day-to-day or the game-to-game or even month-to-month stuff with Chauncey. I'm always there for him if he needs me, but I trust him in his decisions. And, as far as style of play, rotations, how to open or close games, that's up to Chauncey. And if he needs any input, I'm there for him, but I'm going to let him do that. As far as how this year is going to go, it's a challenge for all of us, for Chauncey, for our players, for me. We all need to take steps. Last year for us, it was just so vague the way the season went and ended. There's just not much we can point to, as far as saying, hey, this is what we are, and there's not much we can take away from because we know that all these circumstances led to us, not being very productive. So for this year, my challenge for Chauncey, my challenge for myself, and for our guys, take steps. If we're taking steps and we get that clarity I was talking about and become very conscious of what we are and where we're headed, I think that's going to be a successful year.
So a successful year if you get clarity, and Chauncey will keep his job if you take steps.
I didn't really hear that. I heard the clarity part. I didn't hear Chauncey keeps his job. How often does the coach in any league or sport go into the lame duck year of a contract, wasn't picked up with an option or extended, and that works out well for that coach?
How's it looking in Dallas for Mike McCarthy right now?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Chauncey was asked actually hey, what do you do here? And by the way, like the part of I don't meddle, like they have a good relationship, I don't meddle, except when I need the veterans who are still on the team to sit out with random injuries so we can tank and be very bad.
We're too good.
That's not a Chauncey decision.
Why are we good enough?
That's
Stop
an
being so
organizational
good.
decision.
Yeah.
Yes. And so there are parts of that I kind of chuckled at, but I think this is why yesterday, and look, I missed most of it live. I tried to catch up, read Twitter feeds. I went to like Reddits. I watched the press conferences, not all of them, but Chauncey and Joe's and Scoot's. I just don't think there's juice. I think they had no juice last year. Shaden got hurt. Scoot had a terrible season. You can polish an 18-game turd if you want. I think they're a little worried is what one takeaway was yesterday. He came in as the generational guy, and now we're saying let's not put too much expectation. I think that's an interesting development.
1 year later.
He was asked about his rookie season. All he pointed to was food. His agent left right before the draft. He had no mentorship on this team because Anthony Simons is 23, 24 years old playing Call of Duty. I don't know how much of a leader or mentor he can be at this point of his career. I think there's a lot of questions and things looming for them, and I hope so they can solve and get the clarity that Joe is asking for. I also see the other side of it, and I think that's why there was no real conversation or takeaways from people yesterday in Blazer fandom outside of the diehard of diehards.
Who will always be there.
Who will always be there no matter what and never want to trade Dwop Reith. I think you just have most of this city is like, Like they cited an 86% ticket renewal for season tickets, and that very well could be true. That was the worst season they've had since 2005. What are people spending money for?
Yeah, did they drastically lower the prices that I'm not aware of? Because
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
buying those.
How many of
behind
them
the scenes.
are go to for business purposes, companies, that sort of thing, versus how many are individual or families that are still re-upping?
I'm not doing the pod with Danny this year because I got a lot of obligations outside of work with family things and sports and kids and all that.
And a 4 a.m. alarm clock.
And a 4 a.m. alarm clock. Yeah, those shows at 9:30 we're out. But I'm going to be watching very closely, and I'm always going to be honest about it. And kind of what I would say is they've put the bed that they've made their own bed, and I think they're sitting in a situation of like, you don't have much to point to for me to trust or get excited about. Now, if the young guys play well and they stay healthy and they progress, okay, and they fit with each other the way they should, yeah, that's different. But I think right now we all know the dirty secret. You're playing capture the flag. You're going to trade some of these dudes, most of these dudes, and we just have to sit with this uncomfortable, like, we can't say it, but it's obvious.
We're tanking, but
I'll be curious to see how much, if you talk about a personality and somebody that can be the voice in the locker room, Donovan Clingan has all of the parts to do it as a rookie. If there's a void in that department, especially if the veterans start getting dealt as we expect, how much of that void he will take just because of his personality and going to college and playing for Danny Hurley for 3 years and winning a national championship and seeing a blueprint for how to be a championship caliber club.
I want to give you the time to talk as well. I don't want to take up all the time, but I would add to this, they kind of talked about that, Joe did, of needing to, like, Richmond asked, and I know we got to cut, but it's a bit long, but Richmond asked basically, okay, like, you're at the start of your rebuild, you continue to say you're earlier. How much more time do you have? And he basically said, we need to know this year. And I actually think that goes for Scoot. Because if Scoot has the same year or slightly worse, you're looking at a middle-of-the-road backup point guard.
Yep.
He doesn't have elite athleticism. We watched that last year. He can't shoot. So it's like, if that's going to be what it is again.
And maybe that's what Cronin's holding back on trading the veterans, is he's not really sure what he necessarily needs.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
Well,
and
that's
that would,
concerning.
I know.
I mean,
that's the only other thing I would add, because I think you guys are hitting it on the head. I would just say, you want clarity this year. Are you going to get clarity with so many veterans on the team? Are you going to get clarity with Anthony Simons taking up minutes from Scoot? Like, I've had this argument with Danny, and he tries to argue that Scoot's not ready yet to take on that man, which Okay.
The young guy statistics are out there for sure.
I get it, but he's ready to play 30 minutes a night off the bench, but he's not ready to play 36 minutes a night as a starter. What's the difference?
Well, I don't even know if he's going to get to 30 this year.
Which would be a
What was he at
disaster.
last
That would be
year?
a disaster. He's a top 3 pick in the draft.
Well, my
I-
whole thing on that, and I know you guys disagree on that point, but my whole thing is like if you're calling him generational.
A year ago, they said we can't trade this pick. We have a chance to draft a generational talent at number 3.
So
Then he should be out there being able to
yeah.
transform.
Showcase
'Cause you
his
need to
abilities.
know, like
Yeah.
Shaden's contract stuff is looming.
Yeah.
What's
What
that
do you-
extension going to be?
Exactly. So Blazer Media Day was yesterday. We'll track it.
I put a
obviously,
poll
in the coming
question
weeks.
up. Blazer Media Day yesterday. Did you care? Yes, they're back, baby. Meh, a little, or no?
Okay.
What would you guess is winning right now?
No would be my guess. It's going to be an overwhelming
72%.
Yeah. Look, if people want to call me old bummer dirt over here on the Portland Trailblazers, I feel like I have the absolute pulse of the city and this fan base, at least
Wow.
the vast majority of
That's
it.
a hot take.
And I'm just glad that a lot of people are finally on board with what I've been arguing for 2 years. Like, pay attention and give them attention when they deserve it. And right now they don't deserve it. I'm glad they're going to be on TV, but wait and see how the season
You'll be
starts.
4-1 and you'll be eating crow.
Yeah, that's right. This is the year, baby.